Fellas, welcome back. And audience, welcome to episode 3 of Rise Up, the podcast. I'm Dan Saib when I'm here with your two favorites, Scotty Rodgers and Greg Beast. How are we doing, guys?
Good, man. Pumped to be here.
Feeling good. Oh, it's a good week, man.
Let's go.
Everyone have a good week. I missed your guys' faces.
Yeah, I know, man. Good week so far.
I'm glad you're having a good week. I'm having a little bit of a crazy week, just kind of like how these games were this weekend. I predicted them pretty well, went 3-1, two, both 1-3. I'm out to an early lead on our weekly picks. What happened on your picks, guys?
I mean, me and Greg are just optimistic. I wanted to see the Cannons kind of pull it out. You know, I like I said, we said they're not figuring it out on offense, right? And I thought they could, but it just not this week.
I personally am going to challenge the results of this past weekend.
All right.
I think it was stolen from me, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, let's go into that game. Archers versus Cannons. It was a 17-12 game. Will Manny continuing his conquest for the MVP. He's looking good, 1-5. What did we see in that game, guys? What do you guys think of that one?
I think just watching that offense, right? Like watching, they had it was 8 different scores.
They did have a lot, and Grand Ament came back.
So, I mean, just watching that offense grow, I think they're very comfortable. Amit's back. You know, I was a little pessimistic about that. I know I said that, but it looked like he just fit in seamlessly. And they look like they can make a run.
I'm going to give you a lot of credit, Scotty, because you said that, you know, he's like, look, I don't want to ruin anybody's parade, but Grant Ament coming into this offense is going to change things, and it might take some time for them to acclimate. That's exactly what it looked like in the first half. They got going, and here's what irked me a little bit about that game is every single person that was talking during the game, the announcers, the offense is humming. These guys look great, blah, 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 blah. Second half, all offense is really coming alive. Interviewing the teammates, interviewing the Archers after the game. Guys, what did you do in that game? Oh, we just got hot. You know why you got hot? Because Justin Inacio went 22 for 30 and put Alex Woodall in a casket.
There it is.
Nobody wants to talk about that. The rookie. Now, look, the Archers for the last how many years since the league started, every time they lose, it's because we can't win faceoffs.
Right.
It's because they got smoked on the stripe. No. They pull out a game, they win a game, they look awesome, and nobody wants to talk about Justin Inacio. Bullshit.
You called it, right?
Yeah.
You said he needed
to give
to
the kid some time, right? Just give the kid some time. Same thing with Jake Falk. We'll get to that game later, but the talent's there. So I'm happy for him. I hope that his teammates are as loud and vocal about how well he played as they are when a faceoff guy doesn't do well. But that Archers offense, when Grant Ament, who got interviewed after the game, thought he had a bad game, and they put up that many points.
Right.
Yo, you're all in trouble, man.
You're in trouble, man.
You're all in trouble, dude.
And Tommy looked like he was in cruise control. You know, like he's so good, dude.
Oh, did you see Connor Fields' fake? Connor Fields faked the defense so bad that they left open the best player in the world.
Right.
Tommy Schreiber's like, holy shit, you faked him. I'm wide open in the crease.
And that's the other thing. Connor Fields, right? Like he's a weapon.
Dude,
like
you forget about Connor Fields because
right.
that offense is so good. Connor Fields, man.
He's like off the bench. You know, like that's
agree more. I couldn't agree more. And I also think that, you know, Connor Fields had a great first year in the PLL when he was with the Chaos. You know, that top 50 players list, he was very high up on that. And then, you know, Towers started doing his thing, molding that team the way he wanted to mold it. And he was kind of forgotten about.
Right.
And, you know, people forget he put up 1 million points in college.
Dude,
and
Connor was all over the place the first season.
And that had to be an adjustment, right? Like he's so ball dominant, right? Coming into the Archers offense, which is like a sharing, you get a touch, you make it count, but they want it to move. They don't want the ball to die in one stick. So I think that takes a minute, right? And of course, you know, he looks like he fits in just fine right now.
Do you think, not from a speed dodging perspective, but from a needs the ball in their stick to make crazy plays perspective, do you feel like him and Ament are a little too similar to both get into rhythm in a game?
I think similarly different, right? I think, you know, Grant's a speed guy, you know, and Grant, I think Fieldsy he's a stick. That's why when he was on the Chaos, I was like, this is kind of dangerous because, the way they can play 2-man games, right? Yeah. So I think Tommy could play that style. And I think that helps him because Tommy plays box. I think that helps Fieldsy a little bit. But he had to learn, dude. He had to learn how to blend with those guys. They have a lot of vets.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, Ament, he can, dodge from anywhere on the field, whether up top, behind the wings. Fields is going to operate that left wing, whether it's 2-man game or, rocking back and forth. But like you said, he's learned that, first, second dodge isn't there. He's getting the ball out of his stick and he's letting the next guy go. And that's the adjustment. And that's what's making him such a great, second option, third option, where he doesn't need to be that first option. But, if they're quick to double Tom or they're quick to double Ament, that's opening things up for him. And he is a great off-ball player as well. He can catch and shoot it so quick, just like, Will and just like Marcus. So I think he is a great fit for that offense.
Yeah. And you know what, Sibes, because you played offense. Like when you have that guy on the team where the ball dies in their stick and regardless of how it's going, it stays in their stick. The whole offense does two things that I've noticed. If the ball gets to a guy who's just everybody knows he's aiming for the assist. So they almost stop moving. And two, if you don't get rid of it, people are a little bit hesitant to throw it to you. Right. You're like, holy shit, we're not going to get it back. And we only got a 50-second shot clock. But you're right. That ability to say it's not there, fine. Move it to the next guy. Yeah, I can definitely see his evolution as a pro. And it helps when you don't need to do that. I mean, I think Trey LeClaire is like the last offensive guy out of the box on that team.
Yeah.
And if you put Trey LeClaire is a monster. He's going to play in the World Games and have
He's a big boy, dude.
Yeah.
Shoots the shit out of the ball.
Just now, on the other side, just talking about the Cannons. Listen, the highlight reel goals are there. Listen, they're definitely getting those goals that you're like, wow. But you know what? It looks like it's forced. The offense doesn't look fluid. What do you guys think?
To be fair, they also won 20% of their faceoffs in this game. Now, that is an enigma to me. Peyton Smith last year came in and played for the Cannons for one game. Quirk called him on a Monday. He came in and played one game, just got his jersey. He gave him their second best game of the entire summer. Then he didn't play again and didn't even come to camp. Instead, you brought in a whole bunch of other guys.
Right.
Peyton Smith still at home wondering what the hell's going on. Just watch the team get absolutely minced. Now, that offense, if you give them 40% or 50%, can hang with anybody. I think last year they were one of the worst. They were the last place team in the league in faceoff percentage too. And they had 5 1-goal losses?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think so.
Quirk was calling me last summer. It's like, dude, I'm old now. I'm out.
Can it get you?
Put these young bucks in there. I was like, you know how much money you're going to have to pay me enough where you have to pay for my divorce lawyer if I come back. And probably a surgery because I'm going to tear my hand. But yeah, I think the Cannons, they have everything. They have it all right there. I just think in this particular game, you're going up against an offense that was on a heater in the second half because they just kept playing make it, take it. And it wasn't just make it, take it. Like they were creating offense out of a lot of these face-off wins too. Right. There's only so much you can do.
And we talked about this last week. The Cannons have the pieces. They haven't been able to put it together. Lyle was 4-3 and they still couldn't win. He needs some help. I know Drenner's been playing well. He's having a great season, but
Drenner is playing phenomenal.
Yeah, he is. He's playing awesome.
Dude, Drenner is straight up one of my favorite players.
He's a baller. No doubt about that. He's a baller.
Baller. Yeah.
But there needs to be more. There needs to be more than just those two guys. I know Asher's been playing well, but they need help from the midfield. I'd like to see Rafus step up a little bit. I'm huge on him. I think he's so slick. I think he has what it takes to be able to, square up his guy, beat him, draw a dodge, dump it, get an assist or bury it. So I'd like to see the Cannons go through him a little bit more, let him operate a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is there a guy out there, player pool or on a team where he's not getting a lot of burn that you think could make that difference in the midfield for the Cannons if they went for
Sergio Salcido?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought the Redwoods picked him up.
Did they this week?
I don't know. He didn't play this week, but
I mean, we're talking about a dodging threat that could separate.
Did the Atlas play Brendan Curry this week? Because
I thought the rule was, I know in the MLL, if you picked somebody up, they had to play that game. And then if somebody, I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, I believe it's still the rule that if they don't play in 3 games, that they're available. You can pick them up. Yeah. Right. But yeah, I think that's the perfect type of person. Somebody that can just beat their man. And we talked about that with the Redwoods during the All-Star break is, having a guy out of the midfield that can make the defense have to rotate so that it opens up the step downs and the stuff behind. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the Redwoods. They came out with a huge win. It looked like they, got that win that they needed to right the ship. They beat the Atlas 16-15. We touched upon it when we, talked to Jack that, they didn't have Trevor, but still, this is a huge win for the Redwoods.
Yeah, I think asterisk or not, without Baptiste in there, they'll take this win for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
That was, Jake Fault, we've talked about it, constant theme in this league as a rookie. It's going to take a while. They're not going to change the way they do the draws, so you're going to have to adapt. TD played very solid against a rookie. They have 2 wins this year against rookie face-off guys, and then those were TD's best games. So I still think Jake Fault, future-wise, if he gets more burn, can do well. But you put Trevor Baptiste in that game, it's a whole different game.
I agree, man.
Offensively, the Redwoods looked way better. What were they doing differently to look better out there? Landing the twos? I think landing the 2 balls?
2 balls, bro.
Dude.
But I think just in general, they looked just fired up. Like they were dodging hard. They were like getting some greasy goals too. But yeah, they just played well. The offense looked like clicking. It was great to see Ryder have a good game. It was great to see have a good game. Those are 2 of the guys that if the Redwoods want to win, it starts with, those 2 and Rob. So it was good to see them, fire it up. Glaze had that 2 bomb and Rob was like,
Glaze
fucking looked me off again.
Glaze hitting that.
My heart is full. I see Glaze ripping 2 bombs, and that was a snipe too. That wasn't just like a hard bouncer.
And what do you say? He tried to bounce it.
Did he?
Did you hear?
Come on, Glaze, you're a vet, man. You don't admit that shit.
No, high and hard.
Did you hear what Bob said to him in the mic'd up?
Yeah, I heard it.
If you ever fucking look me off again, I love it.
Who said that?
Glaze.
Yeah, man.
I just watching Miles and Perk get going. I think that's a big piece for them, right?
Yes.
Like if they hit those twos,
Perk is a huge factor.
energy. The energy's different, right?
Look, I'll tell you. I played with those guys, and we talked about during the All-Star break. Our first episode, actually, we were talking about Nat St. Laurent will never allow his team to come out flat.
Agreed.
Now, they might not play well, but they're going to play hard every single time.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think Perk is the X factor of this team, because especially when Nat made that change to put Perk on defense or off the wing and then transition into offense. And we talked, having a conversation with goalies and talking about the 2-pointers in this league, a lot of them come out of transition. That's perfect. And I mean, this team is like the Warriors. Everybody can hit threes. Yeah. So, I mean, when they got it going on, and they're literally scoring half as many goals as you, but they're winning, and they're all from deep. You're like, these 2 bombs are killing us.
You don't really.
And then when you push out, you're giving Ryder and Cav and Henningberg. Dude, Jules is playing like Jules right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this offense is scary when they're doing things, when they're clicking and they're feeling each other for sure.
Those 2-pointers, man, they hit different, right? Like they're momentum goals. So if you're getting 1, 2, 3 of those, it's like you're like, we're good,
dude. And the sellies are harder too.
Yeah.
The sellies have to be harder if they're worth more points.
The only thing I don't like that rule with the goalies, right? Like Jack ran one out, hopped over the divider, like the quick whistle. That's always been it. But guess what, man? That's an empty net too, with guys that are elite. It's just, I think a little more time, man.
What do you think? 3 seconds?
3 seconds. Just give them a chance, like a fighter's chance.
If you jumped over the barrier, how much time would it take for you to get back in the creek?
10 minutes. 10 minutes. I'd you know what? I'd actually pull a Jim Brown move, and I'd fake an injury. That's what I would do.
A lot of old school Jim Brown fans punching the air. Yeah, I think the Woods played really well. And if you're the Atlas, like I don't think this phases you at all.
Right.
I think you're just like, look, man, our starters aren't all here, and our possible MVP of the league didn't play. We're still awesome, and we really collapsed in those last couple minutes, and we gave up some deep shots. And you could be, oh, the goalie gave up a 2. Yeah, this is a team defense.
Right.
When Miles Jones is on the field, if you're not on his hands every second, then you deserve to get scored on. Like
he could do that. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
agreed.
Totally. And I would like to see how the Redwoods can, parlay this momentum, and we'll preview it later on in the show when we talk about our picks for next week. But this is definitely a momentum win for them. And beating the Atlas with or without Trev is still no joke.
Yep.
Right.
Moving on. Next game we got on our docket is Whipsnakes over Chaos. They won 14-12. Rematch of the championship game. Chaos are now 1-5. Is it time to smash the panic button if you're on the Chaos?
Yeah. We said it like a couple of weeks ago. Like they're figuring it out. That's the thing. Like they're getting better, right? But like that team, that's a seasoned veteran team, right? And they definitely remembered that championship game. Like they came out fired up. We just watched the Whipsnakes, man. If Rambo's scoring righty, they're getting pretty juiced up. Like he's not doing that all the time. So I just think the way they execute, I can't say it enough. It's like it's a vet. They're a veteran team. You could feel it. They know how to win.
I think anytime you look at the season and you go, all right, we can't get over 500, right? There's four games left now, right?
I think so.
I don't think 500 gets you in the playoffs this year. I don't think this is like the past with the PLL. I think this is one of those 4 to 5 teams are going to run away with this thing.
Yep.
So, I don't panic is tough, but also like this is another team that can't win faceoffs. And, short of putting CJ, I mean, one of their best faceoff games was having CJ and Jack Rowlett out there.
I mean, he's playing
on the LSN.
He's playing unbelievable too.
Yeah. I mean, CJ, we're talking challenging Earhart for LSM of the year right now, in my opinion. I think they've got to get more possessions. In the past, the Chaos have been like, we're 35%. We can make it happen because the defense was locked down and Blaze Reardon is the best goalie on the planet. This year, though, how pro lacrosse is, man. When there's blood in the water, that changes how you look at every game. The Atlas, like we just talked about, they lost and Trevor wasn't there, but that doesn't matter. Next weekend, everyone's going to, whoever they play is like, they lost. They're human.
Yeah, there's a chance.
If the Whipsnakes lose 1 or 2 games, same thing. Okay. Yeah, this is different. Like there's blood in the water. So I think with them now, you go into this game going, we need to finish these guys. And if they get to 1-6, that's when wheels can come off. Guys can mentally check out.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so actually interesting right now. I'm looking at PLL's website, and it gives the Chaos and the Cannons, who are both 1-5. It gives them both a 55% chance and a 54% chance of making the playoffs. So 7 teams make the playoffs out of.
I'm not an actuary. Like I don't know what the hell that percentage means. I don't give a shit. All I see is you're 1-5, and your next few games are against other teams that are in the playoffs as of now. So
they have to win out, man.
Yeah, they have to win out, and they need some help. They need somebody in that top 4 to really slip up. But also remember, the Redwoods are looking a little bit better, and the Water Dogs are looking a little bit better. They all got to play each other.
Do you think the Chaos are getting NLL burnout? These guys are basically playing an MLB length season.
Yeah. Look, I did not play indoor for that exact reason. I did a training camp, made a team with the Stealth, and then I learned how many practices I had to fly across the country for. And I was like, dude, I can't do this. I have a real job at home. Like I don't know how these guys do it. I remember Trev was talking about in his interview how he was like, oh my God. Like he went from college to World Games to indoor to the summer. Burns you out. So I gotta assume that it's tough. Even though
I don't think it was just indoor either. I think they came from the 6s, right? They won a gold.
That's right. That's
so
right.
a lot of those chaos guys played in that. I mean,
these guys are playing a ton of lacrosse.
And this shit isn't slowing down either. They're going to go right into indoor, and then next year's World Games.
Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus is. I don't know if he's got a team, but watch out. Yeah, I think I that's a great point, Sibes. I think these guys might be suffering from that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the risk that Towers ran when he decided to build this team with the heavy box influence style. I mean, I gotta think that 75% of their team are NLL guys, right? Just like
Well, to be fair, too, I remember one of the knocks on the MLL was starting the season, running into how come they can't work with NLL? Why can't they work together? Then we start a new league.
Kind of the same thing.
The same shit. I mean,
it's hard. You can't really figure that out. It's a long season indoor, man.
Well, it's tough because what we
like
do in the professional outdoor league is we try not to run into indoor, but you also do not want to screw with college football, which starts in like mid to late August.
Which I think is genius.
Yes, but we already do that. We're already championship games in September, right? So I mean, yeah, it's tough. And these guys are only playing 10 regular season games.
Right.
I mean, what are you going to make it an 8-game season?
I know.
I mean, I would love that because no one would ever break my career record. You have to be like, Trevor will have to play till he's 65. But that's not good for lacrosse. So I don't want that. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes with these guys. I mean, you're right. I mean, he gambled and won a championship last year. So there's obviously something to it. But I think you might see Andy move in the next draft and the next free agency to maybe a couple more guys who aren't playing indoor, which to be honest is actually getting harder to find. So many Americans, so many guys are full-time lacrosse now playing both. So it's interesting.
And I know there was a lot of friction earlier before the season started, with guys not being allowed to play senior up in Canada. I know we saw, a couple of guys, opt out, or if they weren't going to be a regular in the lineup, say, I'm just going to screw this. I'm going to stay home, go play senior box. And
they make money in that too.
Yeah. They make a lot of money.
They get brown paper bag money up there.
Yeah.
But so, I think that's, something for the sport as a whole that needs to be figured out because we want the best product on the field at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Awesome. The last game of the weekend that we haven't touched upon yet.
Your boys.
Was, for the record, the only game that I lost on my predictions. Was the Water Dogs coming out over the Chrome in overtime, 11-10. What'd you guys see in this one? Great game to end.
Real quick before we get to that, I mean, we didn't talk at the Whip Snakes. We do that. We do this too much. Okay? I want to apologize to Whip Snakes because they win every week, and we're just like, oh yeah, well, what do the Chaos need to do? Well, not play the Whip Snakes because the Whip Snakes are freaking good. Yeah, I mean, look, first off, shout out to that team because they're playing so well that we are taking them for granted. And I don't want to do that because at some point the Whip Snakes aren't going to be completely dominant.
Right.
And we're going to look back and go, we should have given them more credit while they were good. So real quick, from top to bottom, okay, Bernard is just playing phenomenal. Okay.
Yeah,
he didn't seem to have any PTSD after the 2-yard 2-point line from the All-Star game.
Seen it well.
Nardella completely destroyed the Chaos. Once again, I think that matchup against him and Tommy Kelly is just owned by him at this point because Nardella, what he does great, you can't teach, right? He can't go to a clinic and say, hey, be a complete psychopath on ground ball, right? And this style that they allow these guys to play with plays very well into his hands. And the one weakness that Tommy Kelly has is he has lightning fast clamp, abysmal exits. And I mean, Joe just eats it up.
Joe's just a sick athlete.
Yeah, he's just a sick athlete. He's just a physical, sick athlete. He's going to push you, shove you, get on top of the ball. Then he's got these absolute heat-seeking missile wings. And if you're Tommy Kelly, you're in there like in a blender, like what the hell is going on? I don't know where to put this ball. Everybody goes through it, not just TK, obviously. Everybody does it. So, and then you got Earhart scooping up GBs, and there's a really good chance when the Whip Snakes win a face-off that you're probably going to deal with some kind of transition. And then they break your back because even if you get in the hole, you're like, oh, we got in the hole. Thank God. Yeah, no problem. Hey, we got Rambo and Zed over here too. So freaking good luck. So yeah, I think, from top to bottom. Their defense is so solid. I mean, Matt Dunn gets lost in the shuffle. He was one of the best.
Oh, he's shut down. Yeah,
dude, he gets lost in the shuffle, and he's
shut down.
He's so freaking good. So yeah, I just want to make sure that we're keeping track of the fact that the Whip Snakes are still kicking the shit out of people.
Yep,
got to make sure that we're giving them that credit
every week.
Greg, I appreciate you keeping us honest on that. And one point I want to make on the Whips too is we all know, they're big dogs, they're guys down at attack, and we touched upon this with Fields and the Archers. Shout out to Justin Gutterding. He
Yes.
came to a new team, found himself in a different role than he's played his entire life.
Yeah.
And he's thriving now. He is such a key member of that midfield for the Whips. And he's just playing. He looks like he's having so much fun. And he's playing some of the best lacrosse, for that.
I think he gives him a different dynamic. He gives him a different dynamic.
Yeah. All right. Now I'm ready to move on.
Okay.
Chrome.
Now we can talk about Mike Chrome. It was tough to see them fall this week. They played their hearts out. It was nice to see Connor Kelly come back to his hometown, score the game tying, game winning going over.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's like when people were like, "Oh, is the PLL the WWE?" That was scripted. But yeah, I mean, we talked about how big of a win the Redwoods had. This is a big win for the Water Dogs.
Yeah. I mean, watching Dylan Ward. Dylan Ward's elite, dude. He's won international championships. I mean, he's elite. So once he gets kind of steady, and I knew he would, but he was coming from the indoor championship. A lot of stuff going on. Like I said, that maybe a little burnout. I think he's good to go. And they look a lot comfortable with him in the cage.
Yeah. And I think, there was a heavyweight matchup on faceoffs. Connor Farrell got the better of Withers from a percentage standpoint. But what the Water Dogs did so well, like they do so well against everybody, is Jake Withers is like, I don't give a shit if I lose the statistical faceoff. Right. We're going to chase you down and we're going to get half of these back anyway. And I thought the game plan was pretty good on that. And then Courier, best two-way midfielder on the planet.
Dude, he's nasty.
And then look, I love watching Rylan Reese play.
Oh yeah, he can bring it too, man.
Dude, he can bring it. He's electric off the wings. He's got a crazy motor on him. And then my boy Kieran McCardle. Can we talk about him for a second?
Yeah, bro, he's
dude,
the guy.
All Kieran does is make plays.
Yep.
That's all he does, dude.
That no-look feed he had?
That flip, yes. Oh my gosh.
Gets that. He takes his lunch pail, keeps his mouth shut, and just crushes you.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff to take away from how the Water Dogs played in that game for sure. Now, the question is that a sign that the Water Dogs came ready to play, or is that a sign that they found something against the Chrome that the Chrome have to worry about?
I think the Chrome were due for one at some point. That was just it was still a great game, but listen, they might have not taken him they might have taken him a little lightly, I think.
And was banged up, I believe. He didn't play the full game. I think the
Water Dogs were down to 14 players.
Yeah.
They were down to 4. Okay, so people at home, if you don't know, you get 19 players. One of them is a face-off guy, and 2 of them are goalies.
Yep.
Okay, so you have 16 guys dressed on a game day. And they lost guys. I mean, look, you'll go in there with 16. If a guy goes down with like a tight hammy or something, the whole sideline's like, shit. They lost 4 guys, man. I mean,
it was a gritty.
5 guys. So
it was a gut check.
Face-off guy, 2 goalies.
Yep.
They did that all with 11 players, and they just outlasted them. That was gutsy. And then, I don't think the Chrome have anything to worry about. I think they're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
They had that game wrapped up until the last second. And then, Connor Kelly, man. Supernova.
Nick Turn is playing like a vet. How much?
Oh yeah, dude. His poise is unreal.
Yeah.
He looks like he's just fit in seamlessly. No adjustment period, man. He is just balling out there. Basically quarterbacking that offense.
It's also that maturity from, I think Army does that a bit. Like that maturity comes in, no moment too big. Yeah, he looked good, man. He looks like a seasoned vet. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's on his way to an end of the season award type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks great.
Yeah, and that wraps up our recap for this week's game. Stay tuned to later in the show where we make our picks for next week. Just a reminder, I'm 3-1. Bella's over here 1-3. We're keeping track of that moving forward. But now we are super excited to turn this over to our boy, Scotty's fucking boy, Jack Concannon.
That's my guy.
Out of Hofstra. He was, an all-star MVP. He, it's basically the prototypical professional goalie at this point, and we're super happy to have him on. Welcome to the podcast, Jack Concannon. All right, welcome. We have Jack Concannon joining us on Rise Up the podcast, our third episode. Jack, we're so pumped to have you on. Thanks for joining us today, my man.
Yeah, pumped to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, Jack, I was so pumped to get you on, man. I know we're good friends, but all the work you've been doing, how you've been playing, I don't think it gets recognized enough. I think you're one of the most underrated players in the league because you're quiet. But I wanted to get you on here, talk a little shop, chop it up. But what do you think the big difference this year is? The way you're playing. I think you're playing lights out, dude.
Yeah, I mean, obviously coming off an injury last year, you're always looking forward to that upcoming season. Put a lot of work in this off season. Pumped to be back in the locker room with the Bulls. I think that's, what I was looking forward to most. When you're out, I think that's what you miss the most. It's great to be back. Great to be back with the Bulls. We got an unbelievable group of guys this year. And we're off to a pretty good start.
Yeah, we had Trevor on here last week, and he was talking about how he personally has been having more fun out there. From your perspective, I mean, I know watching this team, you guys are just fun to watch. So tell me a little bit about this particular team this season and what makes you guys so fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it's, been a long time coming. I think there's only really a handful of us, that have been with the Bulls from the start. I give credit to the coaches for building this roster. They were looking for specific guys. And I think like you had mentioned, you could definitely see that this year. This group genuinely enjoys being together. It starts off the field, just having fun. And I've said this before, I don't think I'd pick any other group of guys to be in a locker room with. And I think when you're having fun off the field, it definitely translates, you're having fun, you're playing well, and, things kind of go in your favor.
Looking at the other goalies in the league, I always found a guy like Drew Adams was a guy I always circled that matchup. What guy in the league right now do you circle that matchup, say that I want to beat him?
I always think it's, a challenge going against the Archers, and we have them coming up next weekend. A guy like Tommy Schreiber, he usually gets a few by me each game. So I think I look forward to going against him and really challenging myself to at least stop one or two, on a guy like that.
Yeah, I think, watching you play, you're the best inside of 5 to 8 yards. I think that's a stat. What makes you so successful in that range, you think?
It's tough to say. I think, what I always preach is sit, wait, react, kind of hold out, all your energy for one explosive movement to the ball, right? Don't bite on the fakes, use your body, right? I'm pretty tall. So I think when I hold out, it's, that's when you really see my, explosiveness and, getting my body there.
Yeah, your style in tight, I tweeted about it this past weekend, reminds me so much of Drew Adams, and where, I have experienced playing with Drew for so long, he almost made defenses worse because you get a little bit more lackadaisical and you're like, oh, he's wide open. It's okay. Drew will save it. As a guy who doesn't play goalie, and you guys could definitely teach me something on this. It seems like there are technical goalies and there's instinctual goalies. Which one would you say you fall more into?
I'd like to think a little bit of both, because I think it's important as a goalie, and I'm sure you can, agree with this for faceoff guys as well. It goes a long way when you have strong fundamentals. I think there's a few things that you got to keep very sharp, right? Your positioning, your stance, step into the ball. I tried not to get away from that. But I think my biggest thing is, trusting my hands, and really being reactionary, but having a wide stance, right, and taking away angles.
I always thought, watching you play at Hofstra, just watching the volume that you got kind of prepares you for the pros a little bit better. It's like when I was in Notre Dame, I probably saw 20 shots, maybe a game. We had a great defense. It was kind of boring. I never found the rhythm usually. So when I watch you play, man, I kind of think that, do you think that helped you playing at Hofstra a little bit, getting that volume of shots?
Yeah, I think it does. And you look at a guy, like Dobson, who's a rookie coming into the league, kind of, similar situation, saw a lot of rubber. I think it helps for sure. And then, I also think, that first year, my first year in the MLL learning under vets, I think that goes a long way, especially in the goalie position, right? The speed is, something that I noticed right away.
Yeah.
So getting that, that rookie year under my belt, seeing that speed up and down the field, and then, the speed of the shot, once you kind of get that year, you kind of realize, you settle in and, it's the same as college.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Sibes.
Yeah, sorry. I want to hone in kind of on something that Greg touched upon, and you touched upon it earlier too. You mentioned you kind of want to sit, wait, and react and make one explosive move to the ball. And I feel at times, when certain goalies might have on their scouter, like he's a guesser, like he knows like someone's going to shoot low to high, so he's going to stay tall, or vice versa, high to low, and they're going to guess low. Is that something you kind of have to teach yourself out of, to not guess and to wait and sit still and make that one move? Or is that just something that you've always been kind of honing in on?
Yeah, I think there's a fine line between, guessing and reading a shooter. There's certain shooters that you kind of pick up on some tendencies. And it's not necessarily guessing, right? You kind of, you get in their head, they might shoot one low. So the next one, you might be kind of quick to go there. Again, it's a fine line. I think certain shooters are easier to kind of read than others. But there's some shots in this league where there's no way you're saving them unless you kind of get an early read and kind of moving there before they really let it go.
Yeah, I always felt like when I started guessing, it was like the longest game ever, right? Because you could hit one or two of those, and you'll make a phenomenal save. But when you start guessing, you're like literally the whole game you're like, what's going to happen next? You know what I mean? So I feel like I watch you play, and you seem a lot calmer this season. You seem like you're back a little bit, trusting those hands, but then you explode, obviously 5 to 8, you're still doing your thing. You look a lot more comfortable from that outside shot, kind of catching those things now. And then it's starting offense for your team. Your offense is freaking dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, you guys played, professional lacrosse for a good amount of time. I think you can agree, right? As you get years under your belt, you kind of take away certain things from each year. So I think I've definitely done that. I think, I've learned from the past few years, and I think it definitely, calms you down and, it helps a little bit.
Yeah. I think you touch on something like, I think the difference between growing as a college player and growing as a pro, growing as a college player, I feel like you're always trying to add to your own personal skill set and game. When you get to the pros, I feel like the best pros who have the best careers are guys who are constantly learning about their opponents and gaining experience, because you're very close to a finished product by the time you get on the field as a pro. What I want to know is, what was your gut reaction the first time you stepped on a PLL field and saw how freaking short that thing was?
Yeah, it was wow, right? How fast that ball is, getting shot at you once it's, cleared from the other goalie stick. It's like you blink your eyes and, you got to be ready for a shot. And that's definitely one thing that stood out to me. It's like in the PLL and the pros, these guys, it moves so quick. You have to be ready for them to let it go from anywhere, right? In college, you may not really be in your full stance because there's no way that, they're going to let it go from there. But, in the PLL with these guys with this, skill level and this talent, they're a threat from most areas on the field.
Yeah. I remember that first opening weekend in 2019. I think we were at Gillette. Come out on the field, and I watched the first game. I think it was Archers versus somebody. And I'm looking at the field. I'm like, holy shit, this is a basketball court.
Yeah.
I'm jealous, man.
It's like every time Earhart comes over the midfield line, you're like, he's going to shoot. He could possibly shoot it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this past, 2 weeks ago for the All-Star game with the shorter arc, I mean, it was even crazier. I don't know if you guys have watched that, but I mean,
you're lunatics for playing in that game.
Yeah. Thankfully I was on the good side that game, but
I'm sure you guys had a couple adult sodas too. That doesn't help.
Yeah. Maybe had a few.
Tell me about, as a goalie, the difference between playing with an arc and playing with a box.
Yeah. I think, the arc is interesting. I don't know if many, goalies in the league love it. It's I think the 2-point line is very interesting. and I'd love to know like statistically how many twos, each goalie has seen, this season or the past. But it's challenging, right? I mean, really teams are never out of the game with the arc.
Yeah, it's a good look. What is it? 15? It's 15 yards?
15
So
yards.
I was just going to
It was
ask.
16 yards in the MLL. It was
Yeah.
15 yards in this
Yeah,
league.
it's a good look.
I was
But I
just
also
going to touch
think-
upon that though. Is it a difference as a goalie who's played in the ML and the PL, that 1 yard difference? Are you seeing more volume of 2-pointers? Is it, that much better of a look, like that 1 yard making that big of a difference?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to somebody the other week, and it's like, I mean, if you give a good shooter, a step down from 15, it's like, I don't think there's a difference, if they're shooting that from 15, 13, 10, they're going to ping it, and it's a good shot. And I think I don't know the numbers, but, I think certain people would say that, the Concannon, the 2-pointers, there's a weakness, let them go. So I see a good amount of them. Right. And I stand by that. I think, you give a good shooter a step down where they're crow hopping into a 15. I think, they should stand a pretty good, shot at putting that in a good spot. But,
I also think I'd love to get Joey Keegs on this to find out. I feel like most 2-pointers are shot out of some sort of transition anyway.
Yep.
So out of transition, hands free, that's a whole different thing than catching it on a 6v6. So I'm interested to see what those numbers look like.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely up there. And again, that's that's part of our responsibility, in this league on the goalies is, we got to work on those and we got to save them because they are game changers.
How's that? I want to know, how's that situation with JD? I know he's a great kid. Is that a competitive environment coming from last year's situation, or is it more so he pushes you? Like, because I know when I was playing, I was getting pushed by Burnlor, and that was always a stressful thing, but it was a good thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have a great relationship. Again, to repeat, he did a great job last year, supported him, the entire way. And, it definitely was a competitive, atmosphere in training camp. I missed the majority of the season, so obviously I have to come back and prove myself. But I think up to this point, right, I think I've kind of proved myself and earned that starting spot back. And, he supports me, and obviously we push each other. And, I think at any position, you want the guy behind you to be pushing, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to be the best team, right? And that's really what matters to us, right? It's not about individuals, it's about the team. So yeah, that's kind of the dynamic there.
Awesome. I don't think people understand how vital having a partner in crime is on these teams that, look, everybody wants to start, but is happy to be there for you. Like I never would have been the player I was if it wasn't for Jerry Raganese. Jerry was my backup in New York for years, and he was my backup on the Redwoods when we made our run. And, I would never have gotten that far if I had somebody who was competing with me as a starter, but also was a dick. Jerry would compete, and then if he played and I was injured, I was all in for him. And the whole roster reverberates from that relationship, both goalies and face-off guys, I feel like.
I think it's a fine line, because I did it with Jack, and I tried to mentor Jack, and I think he needs to know, like, there's not someone trying to, I'm there to support him, right? Like, I'm telling him what shooters are doing. I know what the tendencies are. So that, like, big brother, little brother thing worked for us very well, except I didn't have to room with him when he has his night terrors, which is nice because he screams at the top of his lungs. He's going to talk about it later. Don't worry. But,
that does happen.
Okay. We all have night terrors. Okay.
But just having that, like, functional relationship where it's not cutthroat, right? Because you want to be comfortable when you're in that environment. Like, you want to be like, I got this. This guy's got my back. You know what I mean? It's
a mutual respect, right? I think JD's a great goalie. And, I think he could start on any team, and, he's there and he's ready. And, if he gets the call, whether it's for us or another team, he's ready to rock. Right. And we have the mutual respect. And again, like Greg had said, it goes a really long way.
So tell me about this season. You guys are obviously, a little hiccup this past weekend, but I think we can all admit that Jake Falk did his best coming in his first game, but he's not Trevor. No one is.
Yep.
With Trevor healthy, which we assume will happen in the near future, what is something that you think your team does better than anybody else because I personally think that you guys are definitely on track to make it to the championship. So what do you guys do so well that helps you get to the top of the standings?
Yeah, well, obviously to start with a healthy, Trevor, we're the best in the league at the X. I think that's a game changer. I think when Trevor's out there doing his thing, it allows our our offense and our attack specifically to get hot. I think our attack as a unit is unbelievable, and I think when they are hot, I think they're the best in the league. We've seen that in a few of the early games, and then they can put up some real numbers. And I think our defense has done a great job too, kind of, adjusting to each team and putting shooters in good spots and allowing me to make saves.
Yeah, I think an underrated guy is Danny Logan, right? Like, I mean, he's kid's a stud, right?
Stud.
Absolute stud.
Absolutely.
He gives you a weapon after a save. I think he's, there's a good chance he could pull up. And that gives you another dynamic for you, man. How do you feel he's been playing, or your D midfield? How have they been kind of performing?
Yeah, I think all our D mids have been playing great. D'Lo, obviously,
Right.
He's a threat on both sides of the ball. I think, he's locked down, on D. And then, I think he shoots it just as well as some of our middies in transition. So that's a guy that, he's a very special player for sure.
And we talked about this on the podcast before, how good of a job Rubior's done kind of remolding the team. How I know, Rubior's definitely more of an offensive minded guy. He's a no bullshit type of coach. Does he kind of let you do your thing and, stays out of your way, or how does he manage kind of the defensive side of the ball, the goalie position as a coach?
Yeah, I think he definitely lets me do my thing. I think he has a respect for the goalie position, and he's not really gonna, step in and tell me, necessarily what to do, or, because the goalie position is tough, right? Unless you're a goalie, it's tough to really give pointers. My job's to go out there, save the ball, clear it, and I think as long as I'm doing that, I think he's got my back all the way.
Yeah, I remember when he first took the job, he said he wants to be the Bill Belichick of lacrosse. And I was like, whoo, man, my man is shooting high.
Yeah.
But he's doing it, dude. He's doing it. What makes him command the respect of the team, do you think? What does he do so well?
He's not the loudest, right? I think, his decisions and the moves that he's made, picks and whatnot over the course of the past, few seasons, I think the players kind of sat back and were like, okay, let's see what he does. And obviously this team has come a long way. So how do you not respect them, right? You look at some of the moves that he's made, which some people at the time were like, wow, right? And they paid off. And I think he's, super smart with his decisions. I think, he puts a lot of thought into it. And I think, you only see those decisions play out in our favor, over the next season to, 3 seasons.
I agree.
It's pretty awesome, man. Now this second half of the season, second half is always fun in this league because then you're playing everybody one more time. Now, give me a game that in the first half you personally didn't like the way you played and what you got going on for the second time you go around and play this team.
Yeah, I think I'll say the Archers again. I think last time we played them, I came out a little slow, probably under 50% in the first half, and then turned it around the second half, made some big saves, made one save kind of as time expired. I think that's going to be a good game. The Archers had a good win last weekend. I think they're kind of building a little momentum, but it's going to be a battle. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Can't wait to watch that, man. I know they could shoot, but I also know you're up for that. You love the volume. So
yeah,
it'll be good.
I love it. Good insight on, what's to come with you guys. I want to kind of, change gears a little bit. I want to hear what it was like being teammates with Scotty Rodgers. And I think a lot of our listeners want to know what being Scotty Rodgers teammates was like, and on and off the field.
That's probably where the night terrors came from.
Yeah, I think I got him from spending so much time with Scotty, honestly. No, but everybody I think who's had the privilege of playing with Scotty will agree that you know, he's an unbelievable person, unbelievable teammate, and absolutely hysterical. You know, if you've heard any of his stories, you know, you're on the floor laughing. And I mean,
Can't tell us here.
Yeah, no, can't tell.
Sure we can.
You know, the Atlas guys, you know, to this day still talk about, you know, that bubble training camp in Utah, and he had us absolutely crying on the floor.
that was one of the best times. I think, you know, it didn't go our way. Just being able to be, it was kind of like college again, you know, like being close every day. We're grinding together, seeing shots. I mean, you were playing basically rock, paper, scissors for who's taking man up, man down.
Yeah, you know, it was unbelievable. And I remember, you know, when I found out what team I was on, you know, when the PLL just started, and you know, I remember Scotty calling me right away, and you know, we were just kind of chatting for a bit. At that time, you know, Scotty was a guy that I didn't know personally, right? I looked up to him and kind of watched him growing up. You know, that's a goalie that I really watched, you know, my entire career. You know, so to get a call from him and to kind of, you know, just connect on our roots and, you know, catch up and, you know, have him say, you know, listen, I'm pumped to play with you, pumped for training camp. You know, it was a really cool feeling at the time.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that very much. But just watching you grow kind of as a pro, right? As a leader also, that was one of those things. I know you could save the ball, but just seeing what you're doing now as a leader, watching the way you talk to Tuck, you know, I know that relationship, he's tough, man. So I know that's tough, but I watch you now. It looks very comfortable. It's your team. And like I said, I'm proud of you. And it's fun to watch you, dude.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And, you know, like I said, you kind of go through your career and, you know, from a leadership perspective, you know, you learn from those guys in the locker room, and you kind of, as a rookie, you kind of sit back and see what they do to bring a team together. You know, obviously Scotty was one of those guys. So
You're the man.
Wow.
Well, we love to hear that, and I think our listeners will be pumped to hear that. Scotty does have a big heart, big teddy bear, not as tough as
teddy bear.
And I will say, a lot of the rookies, you know, as they come in, even this year's rookies, you know, that's one of their first questions to guys, you know, who play with Scotty. He's like, how is it playing with Scotty, right? Because you see him, you know, through
Instagram,
Instagram, right, the podcast, and obviously when you know him, you know, as a person on a personal level, he's very different than what you expect. So that's always a, you know, funny conversation.
Thanks, buddy. I'm still gonna eat up 12-year-olds if they bark at me on Instagram.
I hope you do.
Yeah.
Gotta give the people what they want.
Exactly.
Gotta give them what they want, man.
And fellas, we're coming up on time. Jack, thanks again so much for jumping in with us and answering all these questions and giving our listeners, you know, a look at what it's like to be a goalie in the PLL. Fellas, we got any last questions for him before we wrap this up?
Jack, what do you think, baby? Championship this year or what?
Championship or bust, baby.
Let's go.
Always going all the way.
Oh, we love
Let's
that.
go.
Love that. All right. Well, good luck, man. Good luck, and thanks a lot for coming on here, brother.
No, it's a
Appreciate you,
blast.
Jack.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
Yes,
buddy.
Jack. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the year, man. We're rooting for you. Welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to Jack as much as we enjoyed having him on. The next topic is some pretty big news in the lacrosse world and for PLL as a whole. You know, they just had some serious funding secured for some pretty big names in terms of, you know, entertainment industry, sports industry. So that was great to see, guys. What do you guys think about that?
No, I think listen, adding to that validity of this league, right? Getting these big name athletes like Kevin Durant. I mean, he kind of knows when he invests, he doesn't make poor investments. You know what I mean? So for him to believe in what Paul's doing and Mike's doing, it's huge. It's huge for lacrosse.
I think one of the issues that we've had in the past in this sport is, one, we focused on instant gratification announcements and investments. We also didn't look at the long game. Something that Paul and Mike have done so well is that as they make incremental adjustments, they're playing the long game all the time. I heard somewhere that this is the first year professional outdoor lacrosse in this country was in the black. That's a massive deal for people who don't understand. And just to put it in like an idea, like in the MLL, at least like around the 2008, 2010 type of time, you're looking at owners that were essentially using MLL franchises as a giant tax write-off.
Tax write-off. Yeah.
They were all losing $250,000 each. That's why the games were so damn long. You'd run off the field.
Right.
You'd have some pizza and Bud Light in your locker room. Okay. They are putting a hard investment in the product on the field, but how are they doing that? It's not just the photography and the videos and all the ink blot that they're using on social media, which they're known for.
It's on the business end.
They're investing in the players. They're investing in creating an environment where you as a player feel like a professional athlete. So you have to hold yourself to a better standard. I know they weren't thrilled, for instance, perfect example. Okay. 2011, I blew my knee out in an MLL game. I sat on the sideline by myself with ice on my knee because there was no ambulance at the game for a quarter and a half until I was shoved in the back of my parents' expedition and driven to an MRI imaging place.
It's crazy.
The PLL put Trevor on blast this week because he tried to play through a pulled hamstring.
Right.
Okay. Now, that tells you how serious they're taking their players' health and how serious they're taking the product on the field. If you're an investor and you're looking at how much presence they have on social, the branding they have with the ESPN contract, and then what they're doing for their players off the field, yeah, I think it's a pretty safe investment. And I also think Mike and Paul are using their connections, right? I mean, these guys, they're not just pro lacrosse. Paul's not just a pro lacrosse player who's like, I want to make a better league. Paul has a gigantic vision, and his brother has a great way of making these connections. And I think, they're using their network, and that's beautiful. This is huge for lacrosse.
It's huge.
And, I'm ecstatic about it. And I think that it's not just us as believers. Look, we're doing this podcast because we believe in professional lacrosse.
Exactly.
But we're talking about guys who have nothing to do with lacrosse and have money.
And
they're
believe.
investing not because they're like, we're lacrosse fans. They're investing because they expect to make money.
Yep.
That's huge. That's a huge deal.
Yep.
Absolutely. And you touched upon it, Scotty. It's, Kevin Durant, the Churning Group, WWE. These are entities that are well established. They know how to make money. They're not in the business of losing money. And they're really bought into what the PLL's vision is. And that's awesome for the future of the sport. It's great to see that, your peers are getting treated as, professional athletes. You mentioned in the past in the MLL, it's glorified men's league at times.
Yep.
You roll in on the weekends, you say what up to your buddies, you roll the balls out, and then you go grab pops after the games.
Yep.
Right now, it's a little bit more serious. You got to take care of your body. We talked to Trevor last week. He's so committed to, taking care of his body, and it's seeing that investment by the players, the league, and these outside entities. It's great to see. And I'm super excited to watch, where it takes off from there.
Huge.
Absolutely. And, going on from there, talking about investing in the league, talking about getting buy-in from players, getting buy-in from outside. Let's talk about the buy-in from, the kids, the fans, youth lacrosse. I think we're at a really interesting time in the world of youth lacrosse where it's getting fucking crazy. It
has officially gotten crazy.
It's the Wild West, man.
Yeah. And I think it's dangerous sometimes because our sport goes very quickly to a business, and it's going to take a bunch of people to make the right decision against maybe making a couple bucks. That's going to affect it. So, lacrosse Twitter is always a reasonable place. And I saw somebody on Twitter was just blasting parents. They need to stop taking this so seriously and listen, I'm a father now. You can put me on record, nothing to do with the lacrosse world for my kids. Okay. I love the sport. I would love to have a catch of my kids in the backyard. I do not want Jax playing competitive lacrosse and that's his thing, because it scares the shit out of me. These people scare the shit out of me. Now, I see parents fighting each other on the sidelines. I see kids being pulled in 75 directions. Some guy was saying parents need to relax, stop sending their kids to so much stuff.
Right.
Okay. So where I stand, I just said it. But if one day 14-year-old, 15-year-old Jax tells me, Dad, I love lacrosse. My dream is to go play at Duke or Virginia or whatever. I really want to play lacrosse at Division I level. Can I do these 3 or 4 tournaments? How am I going to look my kid in the face and say no, because it's too ridiculous? Here's what every parent's afraid of. First off, no one's going to give them a straight answer because everybody they're asking has money to be made, right? Should I go to this tournament? Yeah, you should go. Actually, my friend runs it.
Yeah, you should go.
Yeah. So here I am, a father, scared to make a mistake. I didn't play lacrosse, right? I just want what's best for my kid. I love that he's doing something he's passionate about. Lacrosse is a great sport to go to college. Why? Because all the best schools are good schools, right? Alabama, nothing against it, isn't a top tier Division I lacrosse program. Princeton is, right? Duke, Virginia, Notre Dame, Michigan. These are Division I. So I would love my kid to go play lacrosse, but I don't want to screw it up. Greg, what do I do? Where do I go? I tell my guys, pick if you're playing for a good club program, right? You're playing for a prime time or a Sweet Lax or 91. Right. You're already playing in a lot of elite tournaments. So just pick 3 like super good, super like reputable events to go to. And I usually give them those 3 events. There are so many events now that parents don't know where to go. They don't know what to pick. And God forbid they say, look, that's it. You're dragging. You look terrible. You're injured. I don't want you to go to this. Then the kid doesn't go. And his best friend gets committed to Duke. Oh, yeah, I saw you at Lacrosse Festival number 7,000 this summer.
Yeah.
You look great. My kid's never going to talk to me again. Never going to talk to me again. That's what these parents are afraid of. And until
I agree,
stop going to these events and these events stop making money, they're going to continue. So I don't know what the answer is.
But I agree with like the crazy Wild West of the logistics, but the talent level of the youth lacrosse is insane now.
Dude,
Totally.
nuts.
We
were at the blatant exposure camp, and I was telling Deemer Class and Matt Dunn, I was sitting next to him evaluating players. I'm like, dude, I couldn't have played lacrosse now.
And I did a goalie event last week at Apex, and they're doing like Bernlord Blaze's thing. And I'm like, these kids are unreal. They're like college goalies already.
These kids have stick skills, and I see the clips on Instagram and on Twitter. They're doing shit in the high school level that I wouldn't have dreamed of doing. Wouldn't have even thought about doing. And seeing them pull it off like fluidly, like knowing that they've practiced this and it's not just them fucking around, it is unbelievable. But I've been coaching club lacrosse for probably the past 10 years with the Top Gun Fighting Clams up in Boston. And actually this year, I got an opportunity to coach for a different team at a national event down in Florida in the winter. So this national event phenomenon that's happening where all these teams kind of come together and have a national team now is pretty new to me. So I'm learning about it. And it's during a college recruiting dead period. There are 0 college coaches on the sidelines.
Right.
And these parents are putting their kids on planes during their Christmas vacation, shipping them down to Florida, where not a single college coach can watch them play. What are they doing?
Well, how about this, Sibes? This is what we've created is I've got parents that are in 7th and 8th grade wanting to get on 30-minute phone calls with me about what the best exposure clinics are. And I was just having a talk with our Face Off Academy SoCal director, Hudson Bearden. I was just telling him the lacrosse clinic is going away. Right now, every single club program in the country
showcase.
Is like, hey, come try out for us.
Yeah.
5th graders, come try out. We want the best 5th grade. Yeah, listen, I don't want to knock what anybody does for a living. I get it. Anybody can take the best 5th graders and go win 5th grade lacrosse games. Okay. Can you develop talent?
Right.
Yeah. Imagine this. I'm going to blow your minds. I don't know if anyone's ever thought of this. A bunch of kids show up who haven't been playing lacrosse that long. They go to a thing. I don't know what we'll call it. We'll call it a clinic. And at that clinic, they learn how to play lacrosse better. Do you think that would be something that anybody would be interested in? Because it doesn't seem to be happening anymore. Instead, it's just everything is the thing you can't miss. Exposure. Guess what? In 2020, we had a pandemic. I remember Coach Corrigan at Notre Dame. I saw him last year at a Millen event in PA. And he shows up. He goes, man, I'll tell you what, I'm never traveling to something again. He goes, I sat in my chair in 2020 and I watched film all day and I had the best recruiting class I've ever had. Why am I flying to one place at a time? And it's true. Look, when clubs and all this, the events, they're like exposure, dude, everybody sees every film. If you're a reputable event, you're taking film of the thing that's going on television. Going on the field, and you send that to coaches. That's what we do at Face Off Academy. Everything we do is filmed and we send it out to everybody. So I don't care if there's one coach on the sideline or if there's 80, because guess what? The college coaches can't get everywhere anymore. Right. Showtime used to be the can't miss event. Showtime had a lot of trouble getting guys this year because there's 4 other events the same weekend now.
Yep.
It's tough to get all, I'll tell you what, there's one spot that I can guarantee you the best players are all at right now. Best in class with Deemer class. Best in class. And here's why. Because they combine, they don't just roll a bucket of balls out and say, hey, you're on blue team. Because let's admit, those games usually suck because the kids don't know each other. So they're all just trying to score as much goals as they can. Deemer puts you through a training combine with the coaches. So coaches are sitting there watching you learn. How do you take in information? How are you coached? Can you learn on the fly? And then you play short-sided games. And the coaches there is a litany of top 25 coaches on that sideline watching those games. And dude, the amount of media, he has 6 people on his media team. Literally, that is one of the few things I can tell you in lacrosse business world that is an investment that's worth every penny.
The media. Yeah, I agree.
But everything.
You're completely right, though. Deemer's the new Jake Reed, right?
He is.
And I think, I'm 26 years old. When I was in high school, I think that's when it first started getting really crazy. Like my age was I graduated high school in 2014. So that's when I feel old, but I'm glad you guys are pumping me up.
You ain't old.
But that's when, kids started committing, before they played a high school game of lacrosse.
8th grade. Remember that shit?
That's when things
Crazy.
Thank God that's over. Thank God.
That was a bad experiment.
So they make it so, right, there's a new rule in place. You can't be contacted until you're a junior. But the crazy is still happening. And what I would tell kids when I was coaching, pick 3 schools that one, I could play there. I could do well academically there, safety. Put one in your wheelhouse and then one reach, if I play well, like maybe they'll take me, maybe it's a reach of a school academically where I couldn't get into without lacrosse. Pick those 3 schools and go to their prospect days. Go to the schools.
Here's the problem, Sibes, is that was good advice. The problem is there is a definitive difference from some of these schools on who, like Ohio State, for instance, uses their prospect camps. You come to Ohio State prospect camp, they are evaluating you and coaching you at the same time.
And some of them are just to pay the ops coach.
Yeah. And some of them, it's like, okay, the volunteers need to get paid. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're a parent and you send your kid to X school's prospect camp for the 3rd time, and I tell my guys, look, if a coach says, after seeing you play, say you're a rising junior, they saw you play all summer, they saw you play 800 events, come to our prospect camp. Listen, man, if you, after spending $8,000 of my money, don't know if I'm good enough or not giving you another 800 for your 3rd or 4th assistant to stand there and just have me do 6-on-6. And, some schools, who you are, do that, and that's fine. But there are certain schools, and they get a recruiting bump from it because I think people are still think lacrosse is bigger than it really is. It's a small community, dude. And if you're a dickhead or if you're doing things that piss people off, people talk and it affects everything.
Agreed.
These kids talk. They all know each other now. It's weird. So I just think that there's layers to this thing. Kids are better, but kids are also getting hurt at a higher rate.
They're overtraining.
7th grader should not be blowing his knee out. Okay.
100%.
So, and why is that? Because people are like, oh, we want multi-sport athletes. We love to recruit multi-sport athletes. Then why are you here during football season?
Exactly.
At this lacrosse event?
Exactly.
Right? How is Billy supposed to play multiple sports when you're recruiting year round for lacrosse?
You're gonna get hurt.
So, I think let's call a spade, but at the same time, I think the value of playing multiple sports is it keeps you healthy. It used to be like, oh, don't play football in the fall, you'll get hurt. No, if you face off for 16 hours a day, year round, everything's going to hurt.
100%.
So throw the stick out and go play another sport. So
I used to put my stick down for like 2 months every year. It's the best.
Yeah. And these kids have no idea. They come back, they're like, oh, coach, what can I do while I have a broken ankle? Heal it. If you take a face off with a broken ankle, I'm hitting you in the face. Okay.
Lacrosse is fully turned into hockey in the sense of youth. The crazy parents, the all year round schedule,
the price,
the amount of blue chip 385 showcases, and there needs to be balance. I'm not saying don't train or don't try to hone your craft, but a lot of these kids, parents, program directors, tournament showcase directors need to look themselves in the mirror and be like, is this too much? This is getting
well, I think at the end of the day, and you had talked about like when kids are trying to focus on, what school should I go to, et cetera. I always tell my guys, and look, I think they look at me sometimes, some kids listen, but some parents are like, it's easy for you to say because you're done.
Right.
But it comes from a good place of focus on improving. Just keep focusing on improving
on your craft.
Yeah. And everything else will take care of itself. And if you're good, people will find you. This is not 2002 where you go to Champ Camp in 205 and you look at the All-Star game and go, those guys are going to college. Everybody else is screwed. There are games going on in Arizona right now, probably where there's half the kids are going to go play college lacrosse. So like, I don't think we have to completely lose our minds, but I also think, man, there's just a lot of sharks in our business. Look, the guys' side, we are eating each other's faces. The women's side, organized.
They play nice.
Organized to a T. They're like, hey, man, that game was a little slow. We should probably do a shot clock. 24 hours later, there's a shot clock at every school in the country. We could learn something from the women's side where they're not constantly trying to kill each other and eat each other and take each other's kids. They do everything much better and much more organized than us. And I think there's something to be learned there. That's my comment right now is probably going completely on deaf ears. But I think it's a shame because the only people who get screwed are the kids. The kids are hurt. The kids are dragging ass. They're trying to play through injuries.
They're exhausted.
Dude, Jerry told me that he met a father who decided to do the math, and he has his sophomore going on the tour this year, and they just rented a Winnebago. They're like, we're just going to live on the road all summer because financially it just makes more sense. Everything is $1,000 right now.
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
It's expensive.
It's unbelievable. And now, you have NLF, which, is like the pinnacle of club lacrosse. And you have kids that play on other clubs that not NLF that are like, this team asked me in NLF to play for them, so I'm just going to leave my team and go play them. And like pinnacle.
There's no loyalty, right?
Yeah, and on one side you're like, dude, there's no loyalty, but on the other side you're like, look, this kid gets one shot at life.
Yep.
Is him playing in this going to get him? And you're a parent and you're like, I don't know what to do, and I feel bad.
Listen, this is a topic that we could talk about forever because it's like,
of course, yeah,
it's so deep. There's so many layers to it,
right, man? And there's I don't think there's any bad guys in this. Right. There's nothing wrong with trying to create an event and make money. There's nothing wrong with trying to create an experience. There's nothing wrong with being a parent wanting the best for your kids, and there's nothing wrong with trying to play in front of college coaches so you can live your dream. So the real question is how do we figure this out? That's all. And I think hopefully in the comments section, some people have some constructive things to say. Because that's what social media is for: constructive, serious thought.
I would love to see people tweet in at us and tweet in what your summer schedule is, how many events you're doing, showcases you're doing, and we can review it and let you guys know if you are doing too much.
Comment section right now, because I'm gonna make Danny post this on Instagram. How many days did you compete in lacrosse from Memorial Day to Labor Day this summer?
Totally. I can't wait to hear those responses. And I just think my last point closing on that, as a parent, you do want the best for your kids, right? But I think it needs to be more broadcasted. That is, lacrosse still as a sport, if you want to play at the next level, you can play at the next level. It might not be a Duke, but
Right.
if you love the game and you want to continue to play to college,
You can
that
play.
opportunity will be there.
Yep.
That's my point.
I like it.
But yeah, I think, like you said, Scotty, we could talk about this forever, but we're
We'll
gonna
bring it up again at some point.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get the comments in and we'll figure out these kids' schedules.
That's enough for one day. I'm sweating.
Yes. Let's pivot into our last segment of this show, our pick'em. We have week 8 of the PLL down in Frisco, Texas at the Star. This is an awesome venue. It's a great size, cool place to play. You feel like you're in the NFL. Starting off the week, we have Archers versus Atlas. One team that just came off a huge win, one team that came off a tough loss. What do we think about this game? I'll start.
I'm gonna keep it simple this week, man. I think the Atlas pull it out. I think obviously it's a kind of not a must win, but coming off that loss, definitely some of those guys it rubbed them the wrong way. I expect the Atlas to take the dub.
All right, I like it. Simple and clean. How about you, Greg?
There's one thing that I'm curious about when it comes to the Atlas this weekend.
Is Trevor playing?
Trevor Baptiste playing. Now, Justin Inacio is improving. He's getting used to the madness that is a PLL faceoff. Trevor beat him up last time, but I think he learned a lot from it. But, yeah, I mean, man, let's do this. Sides, who are you going to pick?
I'm going with the Archers.
All right, I'm going with the Atlas.
There we go.
Going with the Atlas.
You
okay?
two picking the same last week. I don't know. It didn't work out.
We'll change it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think the Archers are hot right now. Amen's back. They're playing well. They're sharing the ball. They're lighting the lamp. I like the way they're playing. I think they're gonna keep the momentum going.
Okay.
Next up on the docket, we have My Chrome versus the Whip Snakes. This is a tough one for me, but I'll start with you guys. What do you think, Greg? Who do you got in this one, Chrome or Whip Snakes?
The Whip Snakes are the best team in the league. And until somebody proves me wrong on that, they're the most complete, best team in the league. I'm going to go with the Whip Snakes. They've already beaten the Chrome once this year. So I'm going to go with them again.
I'm gonna have to agree, dude. I can't disrespect the Whip Snakes on this. Like I said, I know the Chrome are gonna come in ready to play, but you got to just trust the vets, man. I think they're on to something this year. They're playing a little angry because they lost last year. I got the Whip Snakes. I know.
I got the Chrome.
I know.
I got the Chrome. I think I'm gonna start speaking Greg's language a little bit. I think that your boy, the Milkman, he matched up well with Nards, right? He's a grinder. He's going to muck it up. He's not going to shy away from, rolling in the dirt with Nards and getting some greasy ground balls. I think Scannoni in the cage is an X factor. He takes up a lot of the cage, but he's quick. He steps to the ball and he gets, very quick outlets that starts offense. And I mean, I can only talk about the Chrome so much, but I'll just leave it at that. I got the Chrome.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the thing that people don't realize that makes Joe good on the faceoff is that the second he loses the clamp, he bails on it immediately. And he has shown way more proficiency facing off stand-up than he used to. It used to be a little bit of a nightmare, and he has shown that he can definitely go stand-up for stand-up with guys. So, yeah, I mean, I just think when there is a active ground ball going on a face-off, I can't not pick the Whips because I feel like it's a 3-on-2 GB all the time with them.
Absolutely. I like it. All right. You guys are the same for the first 2 games, and I'm opposing you. The next game, we have Water Dogs versus the Cannons. One team that looks like they're figuring out, one team that is looking for answers. What do we got? I'll start with you on this one, Scotty.
I got the Water Dogs. I just think that game they just got, that's going to be a little bit of a launch pad for them. Things are coming together, and that's a big momentum win. So I expect them to kind of carry it to this week.
Greg,
what do you say?
It's a toss it over.
I would expect to see Bones Kelly back out there. I think we learned a lot from last game. And their best option right now is Bones. I think Withers or Tucci. I know Withers played last game, but Tucci's actually top 5 in the league faceoff percentage. Either one of them, I think, matches up well in this. But I think that win did a lot for the Water Dogs. And I think the Cannons are one loss away from starting to give up. Yep. So, knowing those guys and Courier and whatnot, I think I'm going to have to go with Water Dogs in this one.
I'm going to agree with both of you guys. It's tough to bet against one of the best players in the league in Lyle. My brother used to always tell me never bet against LeBron when gambling on in the NBA. But I just, until I see the Cannons figure it out, I will continue picking against them. So they have to prove me wrong. And we talked about it earlier in the show, how great the Water Dogs looked. And I see them continue to roll as well. Last game of the weekend, we have Redwoods versus the Chaos. Two teams that, quite frankly, desperately need this win. Chaos probably more so than the Redwoods. Greg, former Redwood player, we'll start with you. What do you like in this one?
I agree with what we had talked about at the top of the show, where that win against the Atlas could start something. And I've always been very vocal about how much I believe in Natsy and Morant. Defensively, I think they're going to match up well. I think they're going to get transition. I think they're also going to give up transition. Mm-hmm. I think CJ is going to probably score a goal or two in this game off of transition. TD does very well against TK. The Chaos this year are winless without Jerry Ragonese in the lineup, and they are undefeated with Jerry Ragonese in the lineup.
Truth bomb.
If Jerry Ragonese does not play in this game, then I have no choice but to go with the Redwoods.
I like it. That's a nice sabermetric stat you got there.
Yep.
What do you think, Scotty? You agree?
I'm just taking the Chaos, man. I think the back's against the wall, and Blaze is still. I think he's the best in the world. So I gotta have the Chaos.
This is the toughest pick of the week for me, I think, because we all have seen what the Chaos can do. Right? They're the reigning champs, and they have all those guys back. Redwoods are playing well. I think it's going to be a tight game, and I'm going to go with the Chaos. Actually, I think they're going to figure this out. I think it's going to be close. I think it's honestly a toss-up, but I'm going to go with the Chaos on this one for sure.
Love it.
All right, well, those are our picks for the week, fellas. Thanks so much for joining. Big shout out to Jack Concannon for jumping on the show and chopping it up with us. To our audience, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, whether on Apple, Spotify. Tune in on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe there. Comment what you guys want to hear on the show. Thanks again, and great, fantastic week number 3. We're pumped to continue doing this with you guys.
Let's go, baby.
To the moon.
To the moon.
All right. Take care, fellas. See you next week.
All right.